All right, so if you're dealing with an old Mopar, don't forget the left-hand side has left-hand thread lugs. So what you want to check, I mean, if you've got mags with lug nuts that are capped, you're not going to be able to see this, but if you're dealing with stock lugs, you can see right there, see the L? So that's for left-hand thread. It'll be an R for right-hand thread. On an 8 3/4 Chrysler, the axles are the same length on each side. So sometimes, and I've seen this before, when a previous owner had the axles out of it, probably to replace wheel bearings, they might have put the right hand side on the left hand side and left hand on the right hand side. So if you're dealing with the right hand side of the car, you're trying to take the lug nuts off normally and they're not coming off, it's possible that they're left hand thread. So look for that, look for the little L. And then the other thing that happens is people take their cars into a tire shop and the kid that's in there changing the tires and the wheels doesn't know that it's left-hand thread on a Mopar. And so they sit there with an impact and just hammer away till they strip the threads off or they break the stud. And then they have to replace them, and they usually end up putting right-hand thread back into it. So just keep an eye open for all of that. Alright, so here's why we're pulling the 8 1/4 out. You can see the front pinion seal is dripping and leaking, and I just don't see the point in dumping any money into this rear end. I'd rather just have an 8 3/4 in it, make it easy for some axle swaps in the future. So that's why we're switching everything over. And so here's my game plan. I mean, this could surprise me, but I'm pretty convinced that the backing plate and all the brake parts and everything are the same between an 8 1/4 and an 8 3/4. So what I'm going to end up doing is just taking everything off, take the drum off, take the axles loose, pull the backing plate off, and leave the emergency brake cable and everything all hooked up. Just basically pull all the brake assembly off and kind of let it hang. Take the e-brake cable loose from the housing, pull the brake line loose, and then drop the back of the leaf springs. I'll end up putting the axles back in, the wheels back on, to basically roll everything out from under the car. And then we'll wheel the 8 3/4 in here and start bolting everything up. Oh, nice. For some reason I thought I did the brakes in this already, but apparently I did not. So I guess we'll go ahead and put new brake shoes on it and get a spring kit and everything for it, since the lower spring's broken. Oh, how do these come out? Oh shit. This is actually my first time actually working on an 8 1/4. So I'm noticing on the axles they don't have a hole that you can turn to get to the axle flange bolts or nuts. So we're gonna have to get creative. Yeah, since I'm gonna have to do a brake job on it anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and pull all the brake parts off. I wasn't planning on doing that. I was gonna leave it all attached. We'll have easier access to those nuts with a box end or open end wrench. I think I got a pretty good handle on where everything goes inside the brakes, because I've done it enough times, but it never hurts to take pictures. So if you've never done this before, and even if you have, it's a good idea, get a bunch of pictures of everything, so when you go to put this stuff back together, which could be days later, weeks later, months later, you know where everything goes. There's always going to be a question like, which way did this go, this way or that way? Go to your pictures. And then see how these come out? You're gonna push on the spring and compress it and twist this so it goes to the larger opening slots, and then all this comes apart. I also like to lay everything out, kind of, you know, maybe get a picture of all this too, so I know this bottom spring goes in this direction. This cable's going to go towards the back of the car. This spring is on the rear shoe. Something else that's very important with these things is, if you notice, the padding on the rear shoe is longer than the pad on the front shoe. Make sure that you always put the shorter pad towards the front. If you don't do that, you're going to end up getting one of the wheels locking up on you. That's a typical sign when you put them on there incorrectly. So just make a note of that as well while it's in the car. So here's something else noteworthy. If you're replacing stuff like the drums and the shoes, you want to make sure you measure everything. So you're going to measure the diameter of the drum. This one's a 10-inch, and then you might go like this and go, wow, that looks like 3-inch drums. But the reality is it is wide enough for, I mean, it's 3 inches across there, almost 3 inches. But you actually should measure the shoe. These are actually 2.5-inch. Okay, new plan. The quarters are different. So it looks like this thing's probably clipped on the inside. You got to pull the rear cover off, remove the clips to pull the axles to get the backing plate off. So I'm not going to do that because I'm pretty sure I got backing plates, 8 3/4 backing plates laying around somewhere. I'll go dig up, but I am going to go ahead and push the emergency stop cable out of here. All right, so basically these are like little, I'm not sure what you would call it, but they're basically fingers that are spring-loaded outward. So when they push it through the backing plate, through the hole, it springs out, and then it keeps it from coming out. To get this out, you've got to push on these guys. There's 3 of them. You have to push on them, so you want to pull, put some pressure on it, and then you come in with the screwdriver. Basically just work one at a time. Put some pressure on it, get it through the hole, put some pressure, go through the hole, then the last one, get it through the hole, and then usually it pops right out. Okay, so we got the flex line rear brake hose, goes up to the steel line up here. It's a 3/8. You got to use basically a brake line wrench or fitting wrench. Try to get that off. Hopefully it doesn't tear up the brake line. I do have a brand new flex hose for the 8 3/4 once we get it in. So let's try to get that out. See it better there. And wish me luck.